This week on The Real Deal, I'm going to talk about the different buying patterns of different generations. And let's make it very relevant, of course, to the new emerging millennial first home buyer. Now, I have seen so many of these out and about in the last year, and it's wonderful to deal with millennials because I have two of my own. So I kind of understand them, and they're a product, of course, of their upbringing. So they've been told they can pretty much do what they like, and they've had a lot of love and assistance from their helicopter parents. Have done a lot of things for them and killed them with kindness. So I then shouldn't be surprised as an agent when mum and dad show up with the millennial in tow, who's kind of like a polite but slightly reluctant millennial, who they are trying to get their millennial into home ownership. Okay, so they show up, the millennials in tow. You never really know whether they're tagging along or whether the property's for them, but they tend to hang back and they let the parents do all the initiation. It's quite funny to watch. And mum and dad will be explaining to the child what a great property this is and why they should buy it. It's really easy because you don't really need to do much selling whatsoever, because the parents generally have been around for a while. They've probably on their second, possibly even third home that they've owned. They've worked jolly hard for it. They've made mistakes and they're happy to pass their knowledge on. What I find really amusing is when it goes one step further and the millennial doesn't even show up. They just send mum and dad. So mum and dad go, they check out the place. Mum and dad think it's a great property. They take the contract with them, and you don't see the millennial pretty much until the property's about to either settle or they might show up at a pest and building inspection. I find this really quite extraordinary because I personally would want to go and see a property, and I have bought property sight unseen, but that was because I was interstate and I wasn't able to view it, and it was a very, very hot market, in a boom market, and I had to jump in there quickly. But more often than not, I personally would rather view a property myself than just go on a virtual tour. Of course, COVID has changed everything because we are selling properties fairly often where we're not physically going through the properties with people. And I think we now that seem to be quite acceptable and not that abnormal anymore. But I always find it quite extraordinary because to me, buying a house is a very exciting thing, especially your first home. And when you've got a whole generation that kind of don't really necessarily show up or don't really see the point of showing up, if you can do a virtual tour or you can send your parents, well, it really is a very different, brave new world that we're working in. I guess it's not really much different from maybe someone born in the 40s wondering why people born in the 50s had such a passion for Elvis Presley and eating pizza. But those people that were born in the 50s love Elvis Presley and they love eating pizza and will probably do both until the day they die. So it's just buying pattern, it's just habits, it's just the era that they were born in. So we're seeing a whole generation of buyers that do things very, very differently. So the rules that we have subscribed to other generations previously are totally different. So what can you do about it if you're selling your house? Make sure you do everything. So if you're marketing a property, don't take shortcuts. If you have a property that you think a millennial would be drawn to, make sure that you put yourself in those millennial shoes. If an offer comes in and the person hasn't seen it, don't be perplexed, okay? If they're comfortable ordering their food via Uber Eats and they're buying their clothes online and they don't see the point of walking into a shop and trying something on when they can do it online, so be it. Don't get your knickers in a knot. Let them do business how they do business. Just make sure you facilitate their purchase and line everything up in place so that they're able to make those decisions without necessarily inspecting the property. Love to hear your thoughts on purchasing a property without viewing. Would you or wouldn't you?